So good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, the Data Analytics and Social Statistics Journey from Student Voices to Career Choices. Thank you for joining us. It's a great opportunity to hear directly from the course director, past students, current students, and delve deeper into our online part-time programme. I'm Rebecca, the course advisor, here to support you through the application process. Xavier is our course advisor here as well. He's supporting the webinar chat. So please do let us know your questions there or in the Q&A box, and we'll address them towards the end of the session. So here's a brief agenda for today, and we'll end with some application guidance and finance support links for those of you who have yet to apply. If you're watching this back on our YouTube channel, or if you have any further questions, please do email us at studyonline@manchester.ac.uk. So without further delay, please let me hand over to the course director, Dr. Alexandru Cerna, alumnus Seming Chen and current student Tendai Charles, to introduce themselves and to share their journey in the field of data analytics and social statistics, focusing on key learning experiences, projects, and career impacts. So thank you very much for joining us, panel. And Alex, I'll hand over to you to introduce first.
Hello, welcome everyone. So my name is Alex. I'm a senior lecturer or associate professor in social statistics at the University of Manchester. I've been here for a while now, almost 10 years, and my background in survey methodology, looking at data quality in surveys and also new forms of data. And I'm also the director of this online program. And I'm very excited today to also have Zeming, who's a previous student at Manchester, and Tendai, who's a current student. And after this discussion, I'll have a short presentation about the course. So Zeming, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Ming. I work as a research method scientist in Varian UK at the moment. Most of my work is around survey sampling, survey design, and weighting and statistical modeling. So yeah, I was a previous student in a master program called Social Research Methods and Statistics. So yeah, I'm happy to share some previous experience about what I learned from the master and also how those things fit into my current job.
And Tendai, yeah.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Tendai. I work as an assistant professor of education at the British University in Dubai. It's quite funny to be here today because this time last year exactly, I was a candidate joining the webinar to learn more about the course. And now I'm here this year sharing my experience of the first year. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Zeming, yeah, I was wondering if you could let us know your key learning experiences, projects that you've worked on, and career impacts from studying here.
Yeah, I work on quite a lot of projects, like just use different statistical model to study some societal problems. But I can't pick a specific one now because all of them are quite interesting. So I would say across them, what leaves me the most impression is perhaps the critical thinking in this part. Across every project, you're supposed to pick a model, and then you need to justify why you choose this model, why do you use this data, why do you use this variable. All of this is very engaging, and also in my daily work, I do this thing on a daily basis, basically.
Can I ask how? From where did you come from to the University of Manchester? How did you take on a course here, and what background you were from before you started?
Yeah, so I study social security before back in my home country, and then I come to Manchester for this master program. And the main reason I chose it was because I love methods. So basically, I want to learn how things work, and yeah, that's the main reason I joined the program.
Oh, wonderful. Tendai, can you give us some same questions?
Yeah, well, I mean, to start with my background, when I was a teenager, I was very good with technology. And so I did an undergrad in computer science, and I worked part-time as an IT technician in London. But it wasn't really something I wanted to do long-term as a career. So I changed career completely and began to teach English abroad. So I did a master's degree in applied linguistics, And then the professors there convinced me to do a PhD in education. So I already have a PhD, and I've been working as an academic for about 5 years now. But most of us in the field of education are not very strong with statistics. So when it comes to doing research, we tend to lean towards qualitative data, doing interviews and focus groups and that sort of thing. And personally, my own values in terms of research, I believe in post-positivism. So essentially, I like to do quantitative and qualitative research together. But I really lacked the quantitative skills. And so my motivation for doing this course was really just to develop my stat skills. I looked at other online stats courses around the UK, and many of them were theoretical based. So they were looking a lot at the theory behind stats without really having much practical side to it. But this course was different, and so that's why I enrolled.
Wonderful. Great. And so Tende, I think this is more applicable to you. What is studying online like here?
Oh yeah, it's really helpful. I mean, obviously having a full-time job, it's difficult for me to enroll in a course and be on campus. So having the option to study online is great, and also being outside of the UK at the moment as well is really helpful to be able to access everything online. The course is designed very well. So we have Blackboard as the main learning management system, and all of the resources available on there. The professors make videos, so you can watch the videos at your own pace. Which again is very useful for me. Sometimes in my job, I'm really busy for 2 or 3 weeks, and so I can't do much studying. And other times I'm like really free, so I can study as much as I want to. Speaking to other students on the course, I know some people have a routine of doing like an hour every day. So we all study in our own ways, but I find the flexibility of the online approach is great. And we also have weekly lessons online with the professor on Fridays. So you can go at your own pace with the materials online, or you can join the real-time session as well.
It's great to hear. And I was wondering what resources you found most useful here at the university. And this is to Zemming as well. But yeah, Tende, you can go first.
Yeah. Well, again, for each module that we study or each course that we study, the professor provides a number of different materials for us to access. So there are online books and websites and so on for us to use. Some of them explain the concepts behind the statistics. Some of them are very practical. So we're using R, and we have practical activities to go through, really to develop the programming skills. So there's lots of resources available. And then even besides that, in the Blackboard, often in the discussion forum, other students share resources they know. So it could be a YouTube video, it could be a link to another website. And so yeah, you find lots of resources to help you. Me coming from a non-stats background, what I think is really useful for me is the professor allows us to upload a first draft of our assignments to an online forum. And so I can see what the other students are doing. And some of them are way ahead of me in terms of statistics. So it really gives me like guidance on what I need to do for the assignments as well, which is good. So yeah, we have lots of resources available.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you are the cohort is learning from each other, and it gives you that benchmark to have a look and see where you need to work on it if you need some strengths. Zemming, I was wondering about your PhD. How did you get onto that? Yeah, what was your route to PhD?
So my route to PhD was like so when I studied the master program, I'm really interested in survey methods, and I know I wanted to like develop this further, so that's why I applied for the PhD program in the Manchester University. That's how I got into the PhD.
And so what was the process? Did you have to interview for it? And I was wondering, did the masters help support that application, or did you get just apply because you saw it?
I apply, and yeah, they will check your scores at that stage, like for some courses, and also they will need to make sure you have the basic foundation stats knowledge for that. Yeah, and this master definitely help it, because yeah, I have some basic level or introduction level or foundational level stats course from the master, so it helps in that case. And also after application, they check this knowledge level, and then they will have an interview, and then things just move on from there.
And I believe Alex was saying the company you're working with, they've rebranded recently. Can you tell me more about how you got into that position and where you think you'll be going from there?
So the way I got into the company was like towards the end of my PhD. I started to apply for different jobs, and yeah, back then they didn't have, like at the very beginning they didn't have the position open, and then yeah, all of a sudden I would say just lucky, and then they start to have the one vacancy, and then I just go into the job, and yeah, they really value the program I was in, especially the PhD program, and yeah, that's how I go into the job. And for the future, I think it's just I need to get more experience in doing the things I'm doing more quickly, and yeah, get more experience in developing a proposal, etc.
Wonderful. And is there any, this is to both of you, is there any particular experiences where you're able to apply, I think you might have covered this earlier, Tende, where you apply the knowledge and skills you gained during the program to your job? Yeah, is there anything specific can help?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I do review work for a number of academic journals. So somebody's authored a paper in some research to do with education, they submit it to the journal editor will send it to me and other reviewers to provide our comments. And so what I used to do was read the article, but I used to skip the results section because I didn't really understand how to read the results or interpret them properly. So all my comments would be about other parts of the paper. But now, I feel really empowered because I can read any article submitted and I can see the results and read them very confidently, interpret them, and also identify errors. I mean, I read an article recently. I saw the data analysis. I said, oh, they should have done a chi-squared here rather than a Pearson correlation. And so I'm able to write that in my comments and justify why and so on. So I really say to people, I wish I had done this program before my PhD. It would have made my PhD a lot easier and my job so far. But I suppose never late than never. Better late than never. So happy to do it now.
I think this is a really good course. I think because you, Alex, I believe that entry requirements, they like to have people to have a social statistics background as well as a conversion course to a different these types of careers. Can you expand on that at all, Alex? At how people with social statistics will develop on this program?
Yeah, so the idea is more general. So the program is targeted for people in social sciences in general. So and social science is very large, going from education, psychology, economics, sociology. So it's very broad range of different fields. And the idea is to, when we talk about conversion program, is to give the skills that often people don't get from these fields in programming and statistics. And the idea is to be able to apply these to their own field. So we don't really, in the masters, we don't have time to teach people, the theory of sociology or education or any of that, but we teach them kind of the methods, and then they can apply their substantive knowledge and they can use these methods to solve their own problems. So that's kind of the idea of the program, is to get people from as many fields as possible and give them the skills they need to solve problems using real data. And I would just add something to Zeming's experience. So Zeming went from master's to PhD, and I think it also was easier for him, and he can correct me, because he was doing a program. So for example, he applied for a scholarship with me, and it was easier because we knew each other, we were in the same department. So there is an advantage when you're in one of these programs. It's easier to talk to professors, get advice. It's there's some opportunities, kind of informal opportunities you get for being in a department are like ours. This could be even like a reference for a job, but could be, like support for applying for a scholarship or things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a PhD and opportunities to come across more your desk academics, so you're more likely to forward them on, aren't you, to your students and provide them with that support?
Yeah, just letting students know that that's available. Yeah.
Okay, Tende, can I ask you, what advice would you give to prospective students considering this program?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose everyone's got their own different career paths. So, they probably have their own motivations for pursuing this master's. I would say just go for it. Professor Alex mentioned a point earlier about real data, and that's something I've really valued on this course. So for every module that we study, we're actually playing around with real data sets. We use the UK data service. We used, I think, the European survey, something database as well. I'm actually working on an assignment right now, dealing with some data from Arizona in the US with pregnant women who have diabetes. And what's nice is that for each module, the professor encourages us to step outside of our comfort zone. So again, I'm an educationalist, but I'm doing research on other topics. One of my assignments was looking at the behavior of people in the UK during COVID-19 and what type of people volunteered. And based on that data, can we predict how people may volunteer if there's another catastrophe in the future? So there's so much diversity in the program. I came with a mindset of, okay, I know how to do t-tests to the ANOVAs and use SPSS. Can I do something a little bit more advanced? And it's just way more advanced than I imagined it would have been. We're learning so many interesting things, regression, different types of regression analyses, how to build models and so on. So it's amazing. And although I'm someone who specializes in education and academia, I know there are other people in the course who are practitioners in the private sector who are actual data analysts, and they're finding it useful as well. And even from that perspective too, the types of students that you have in the course are also amazing people. Many of them are professionals working in different fields around the world. And so you have a nice group of, or a network, you could say, of people who you can touch base with in the future to work on other projects.
Deming, same question. Do you have any advice to give to prospective students considering studying here?
We say first, love the subject, obviously, and and I think the most important point is just time planning, because I know it's a part-time program and people have other commitments. So I think it will be useful if they plan the workload properly, because as far as I remember, when I was still a student, I was sent a course schedule. This course schedule is weekly, so with that you can plan ahead, and yeah, you can definitely help balance the workload.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is motivation and planning.
Yeah,
but also the benefits of studying online from you at Tendai, to meeting your cohort and yeah, from other different places as well and different experiences. That's great to hear. Oh, my other question, Tendai, was so you're in the UAE now from London originally with roots elsewhere, but I was just wondering how long do you plan on being in the UAE with your role with as an academic over there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy here, to be honest. It's an amazing country, lovely people. So I'm not sure when I'm going to come back to the UK to live. I visit every summer, so I'll be back in the UK next month. And actually, I'll be visiting campus as well. What's nice is, although I started the program whilst I was here, I was able to apply for the student ID card to visit campus. So it was sent to my parents' house. So I'll be picking that up next month and visiting campus for a couple of days and hopefully meeting some of the faculty as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm quite comfortable here living at the moment, but I always visit the UK whenever I can in the breaks.
Great. So please do, if you have any more questions for Tendai or Zemming, please put them in the chat and we can get to them towards the end. But Alexandru, shall I share my screen again? And unless you think there's anything we need to cover?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about the program.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So yeah, you can do it at this next slide, Alex.
Yeah, so I think maybe most of you know about the program, but just in case you don't know, just to give you an overview about the course structure. So the idea is that we have kind of 7 courses or modules in total. Five of them are core, so you have to take them, and then you have 1 optional that you can choose. You could do just the courses on their own, or you could also do a dissertation that comes with a separate smaller a module, and then there's a dissertation where you get a supervisor from the university. You can work on your own project, and then you have kind of like a research paper or a dissertation. So the program is part-time. It takes around 2.5 years to do the program. So we do around 4 units each year. and approximately 20 hours of work per week, although I think there's a lot of variation. So at least this is my experience, depending on the student, the topic, sometimes it's more or less, but that's kind of what we're aiming for. And the content is a mix of pre-recorded videos. We have weekly meetings with the professor, and then there are lots of materials that are created online that you can access in your own time. Yeah, so I think that's it for this slide. Okay, and this is kind of an overview of the topics that we cover. And really the idea of this program is to teach methods, and this covers on the one hand programming, so that's the first course, data cleaning and visualization. So you're going to learn how to clean data, how to explore it, and how to prepare it for analysis, and also some more advanced topics like how to do programming, how to write a function, and things like that. And the rest of the topics are focused on statistical modeling. So the second one is kind of an introduction to statistics, so going from really basic descriptive to basic tests and regression. The third topic, survey methods and online research, talks about data collection, and this is something where our department is an expert. So we talk a lot about survey design, but also new forms of data like administrative data, biological data, and other forms of data. So for example, Zemming, who talked a little earlier, he's an expert in this area. He published research looking at how best to collect data, and he's working in this field right now. And then the rest of the modules, like I mentioned, they focus on statistical modeling. So one is data science modeling. So there we, and I know there was a question about this, so I'll go a little more in detail. So a few of the topics we cover are generalized linear models. So this includes different types of regression from linear or logistic to Poisson. Discriminant analysis, decision trees, lasso and ridge models, unsupervised models, and an introduction to generative AI. So those are the kind of topics we cover in data science modeling. You can imagine that goes from kind of really basic intro to quite advanced data science modeling. And then we have some other models that are very popular in the social sciences. So module 5, multi-level and longitudinal data analysis. These are models that are very useful if you have complex data. So for example, if you have students nested within schools, people within countries or within neighborhoods, or if you have longitudinal data, so repeated measures from the same individuals, we discuss some models that are specifically developed for those. So for example, multi-level modeling, autoregressive models, cross-slag models, and latent growth models. Then demographic forecasting and structure equation modeling, these are the optional modules, and you can choose one of them. So structure equation modeling is kind of a framework for analysis that is really interesting because you can look at unobserved latent variables, and you can do kind of complex relationships like mediation and moderation. And demographic forecasting focuses on models related to how to forecast population change and things like that. And the last module, research skills in practice, the idea there is to cover the basic skills you need to do a dissertation, and that kind of feeds in working on your own research for the dissertation. And I should mention, and Tendai already mentioned this, the program is really developed for you to have hands-on experience. So one of the frustrating things for me is, first, there's a lot of theoretical teaching of statistics without applications. And then a lot of it can be very technical and not suitable for social science. So all this program is actually developed. So it's really for social scientists, and it uses real data. So you get a lot of experiences working on different data sets, different topics. So the idea is for that to be easier for you to apply in your own work. I think that's kind of it. And then if there are other questions, we can chat about it later.
Alex, yeah, I just have a quick question about that. You were saying about the data sets that you use. We've had some questions come through before. Where do you get those data sets from?
Yeah, so Tendai mentioned one of the biggest resources, the UK Data Service or Archive. This is an institution in the UK that holds data for different projects. and you can register and download data for free there. And there are other data sets like the European Social Survey, some data from the US, and so on. So there's more and more data sets available. Probably most of them will come from the UK Data Archive, but there are other sources as well that they can access.
Oh, thank you for that. That was my question. But we'll get to the rest of the questions in the chat and the Q&A box in a minute. We'll just wrap up my formal part of the presentation, and then we'll do a few more Q&As. So this is the next slide on to me. So I've added some resources here for you to watch back, particularly the 17th of April webinar, where you may find some answers to questions and more from our YouTube channel. So professional experience will be considered and may be approved if satisfactory evidence of postgraduate study, research, or professional experience can be provided. But what I would say is some advice from the admissions team is to please can you upload the documentation I've listed here in this checklist completely to ensure that the admissions team can give you and Alex can make a straightforward decision on the offer. So in my role as course advisor, I've found the most useful finance links for guidance listed here. Country specific, if there are available scholarships, they'll be listed there. The pages are updated regularly, so I will keep checking back, but the funding database is also useful. Oh, in addition, apply on or before the 24th of June to receive a 10% reduction on the tuition fee. And if it offered a place, you need to accept the offer within 2 weeks of the offer letter date to qualify for the discount. And that's the end of the formal presentation, please. We'll look over to we'll go to the Q&A and then we'll go through the chat. So we have a question. Are there any preparatory courses suggested for students to prepare for the course in advance? Alex, there are some resources, Alex, that on my FAQs that I've sent out to people, but I will forward them out over to, oh, it's anonymous. Get in touch with me at Study Online and I'll forward over some resources. But is there anything particular, Alex?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, the idea of the program is to be kind of a convergent course. So the idea is that you have expertise in a particular field in the social sciences, and we want to help you develop your methods knowledge. It's good to think a little bit about what are the method skills that you're missing and where you maybe don't feel so comfortable. So typically the two skills that you need to think of developing, one would be kind of programming and working with statistical software. So for the most of the course, we use R, which is a free online, it's a free statistical software you can download and use. And it's nice because you can actually download and use it before you join the program. So one thing you can do is try to kind of learn how to use R, and there are lots of resources online. R is a very nice community. There are lots of free books related to this. So one that I really enjoy is called R for Data Science. If you just Google R for Data Science book, you can find it. And again, that's free online and you can get some experience working with that. And the other thing that you need to kind of build up a little bit is statistics. So again, we don't have strong assumptions about your statistics knowledge. So we take you from basics to advanced. But if you think that would be useful to have an introduction, you can just look at a book or do an intro course online on kind of introduction to statistics. Again, we cover that in the program, but if you have math anxiety or some other bad experiences before, it might be useful to look at some resources in advance so you're kind of more prepared when we start. So we do go from the basics, but then in a year we go quite advanced. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. I don't know, Tende, do you have anything to add there? I don't know, how was your experience with this transition?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a non-mathematic background. I think the last time I did math was GCSEs, and then obviously at master's level, my first master's, we have some basic research methods training. So, you cover simple things like mean and median and standard deviation and so on. So I didn't do any preparation before I started this program. And I think that it's paced very well. So in the first semester, it was paced really well for me to sort of catch up to speed, you could say, with some of the other students on the course. I mean, we have one girl, I think she's from Korea, and she's a math teacher. So what's nice is that the assignments, you don't really need to know the details of all the theory behind stats when you're doing the assignments, because it's very practical based. But during the class discussions, there's some very high level, discussions. I mean, once they were debating about p-values and their significance and so on. So, it's nice to be there in those discussions, but then you don't need that really for the assignments, which is also good. The assignments are very practical. So yeah, I found the transition quite smooth. As you say, it does progress. Each module, it does become more advanced, but then you're reading along the way, so you're making progress anyway.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And we have a question about eligibility, or more if this person's overly qualified, I believe. They have a bachelor's degree from an American University of Sharjah and in industrial, forgive my pronunciations, and industrial engineering, along with a minor in data science. Are they qualified to take this master's program?
Yes, so I mean, my job as somebody who's looking at the application, I just want to make sure that students are a good fit, right? So you're spending time and money for this program, and I want to make sure this is kind of a good experience for you. So we do assume that people have some social science background. So this could be either through the courses you took before, or just for your job. So depending on what you do, you might kind of have experience with kind of social science topics. So that's something that is quite important for us, because in this program we don't have time to teach you, the theory of education or sociology or psychology or whatever your background is. And then when you have to write your dissertation or do your own research, you need a social science topic. So this is something that you need to think, well, do you have something like that? And if it's not clear from your CV or your previous courses, just make sure when you write your application, you explain why you think you have a connection to social science and you're working in this field. So that would be my recommendation, because that makes my life easier, and then I can say, yes, you're a great fit, and you can apply. So that would be my general recommendation. Then we don't really have like a high level expectation for math or programming or stats, because again, the idea is we want to teach you these things. So you don't really need to be proficient. If you are anxious about it, or you think that you're afraid the pace will be too fast, you can do some preparation. But really, there's no kind of criteria that you need to have a particular knowledge of stats or programming before you join.
We have a question about how big are the classes for this course?
Yeah, so this year I think we started around 20 students. The aim next year is to have somewhere around 35 students. So those are the cohorts, and then you'll be with that cohort for the most part. I mean, some students interrupt, might join later, but that's kind of the size we expect next year, and might be a little larger the year after. But that's kind of what we're aiming for the next cohort.
Oh, I'd like to say thank you to Xavier for answering some of the questions on the chat. You've been really helpful. But there are some other questions that we've not quite answered. I might be able to answer this. What would you say is the most used program software for this course, other than the Blackboard Learning Program? R?
Yeah,
Is
R.
that right?
Yeah, everything is in R. So we do, the first course is learning how to use R kind of proficiently, and then everything else is in R. And really, if you learn how to do it proper, how to use it properly, you can use it to write reports from it. You can do presentations. You can do lots of things with it. Of course, you can use, Word and other things to write your reports. But for statistics, we're focusing on R. The idea is to get you proficient in this statistical software, and then if you're proficient, it's much easier to transition to something like Python. So if you understand how to do programming with R, you have 1-2 years of just working with R all the time, it's much easier to pick something else. So really, that's kind of the aim of this program. By the end of it, you should be proficient, and should be relatively easy to pick up a different software like Python afterwards.
Well, we've had a question about, is it possible to complete the program in less than 27 months for the masters? I believe that the units, they have set course dates. So if you do take a break, you can pick up later on. A maximum of 5 years to complete. But I believe that is why the minimum to complete the masters is 27 months, because of those start dates. teaching marking commitments and the master's program at the end. Anything else to add to that, Alex?
No, yeah, we have a very, kind of a strict schedule. So you need to follow that schedule, and you can't finish the courses sooner because we need to be able to teach it. So you need to do it together with other students kind of at the same time. You can learn in your own pace, but there is a particular timing for each module that we need to follow. Yeah.
I think we are coming to the end of the questions. The recording will be made available after, but if you do want to copy the slides, I'm happy to send them over to you, Sonal. Oh, and there are a few more questions from one of our offer holders about the live tutorials, but I think Tendai, you've already mentioned that on a Friday there is tutorials in person. Oh, and Alex, you might know more about this, planned in-person networking activities.
So the program is online, so most of the activities are online. I think Tendai is kind of an exception to actually come on campus, and we're very happy to have him if he comes here. But this is basically an online program. Like Tendai mentioned, we have students all over the world joining and discussing, and we don't really have kind of face-to-face events. That I know of. I don't know, maybe you know of anything else, but I think everything is online.
Yeah, it'll be online. And how many teaching staff on average for this course? Because each unit, I believe, has a different unit lead. Is that correct?
Oh, that's very complicated because, well, with distance learning, there are two things. One, somebody needs to develop the material. So the content that you see online, the videos, all of those things might be developed by someone or a team of people. So for example, data science modeling, I think 3 different people are involved in that. But next year, somebody else might be teaching it. So the person you see in the weekly live meetings might be a different person. So it's very hard to say how many people will be involved or who will be your teachers, how many teachers you'll have. So our department of social statistics that is running this program, I don't know, we have maybe around 20 permanent staff, and then we have postdocs and PhD students and things like that. And in principle, you'll get a mix of those staffs to do the teaching. And again, the materials might have been developed by someone else the previous year, for example.
Yeah, but there's such a wealth of experts knowledge in the department as well. So I'm an alumni from SALC as well, from humanities as well, from the University of Manchester. I saw my learning experience as just a great opportunity to access all the different opportunities at the university here. And I've enjoyed my past 10 years here from my undergraduate degree. So I think there's just one more question and then we'll round up. But will students on this course be eligible to apply for the GradStat accreditation with the Royal Statistician Society? I've not had this question before.
I don't think we have. So I'm involved with the Royal Statistical Society. I'm one of the chairs of the I'm the chair of the Social Stats Committee. So I think the accreditation of the Royal Statistical Society works slightly differently. I'm not sure if they're offering it to separate universities or how that works. So currently we're not working with RSS. So if you want accreditation from RSS, I think they have their own exams. I'm not sure if they offer courses or not. So you might be able to do an exam afterwards. But again, you need to double check and see what are the requirements, what kind of topics are covered to get accredited or to become a charter statistician and so on. But in principle, our program is separate from the RSS. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that. I think we are coming to the end. And if there are questions that have gone unanswered, I'll follow up afterwards and get in touch with you then. There should be a poll going up. If you'd like a consultation, then please get in touch with me and we can arrange that. What I would like to just say is that, thank you very much for joining us today. We've covered a lot of ground discussing the data analytics and social statistics program, student experiences and online learning. A big thank you to Alex and especially to Zemming and Tendai for their time today, and Savia for hosting the chat. Remember, you can find more resources on our webpage, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We appreciate those of you that joined today, particularly those dialing in from different time zones. Your participation is invaluable, and we look forward to welcoming you in September. Stay safe, everyone, and take care. Goodbye.